Hey everybody, welcome to the Roundtable of Strength, where we talk about strength and we talk about random shit. Honestly, I'm here with my good friend, the Mustache Daddy, the technician of squat. My good friend Taco. We're gonna be, having kind of like a little chat. We're gonna talk about what makes him strong, and honestly, that's what I've always been interested in is why is this guy that is 30 pounds lighter than me significantly stronger than me. How you doing, Taco?
I'm doing good, man. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for asking me to be on this, man. This is pretty neat.
Of course. Hey, who better to have on the first episode of this than you? You're honestly probably the most iconic people I've met, and made the biggest impact on my career and strength so far, than more than anybody else. So it's a privilege to
Oh,
have you, brother.
thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. How's your bicep feeling? He was recently at the the World's Strongest Firefighter Classic out the Arnold's, and tore his bicep and still finished the power stairs, which is absolutely impressive. How you feeling, brother?
Yeah, man, that was nuts, man. I'm repping the shirt today. Uh, the everything's good. The bicep is really weak. It feels really, really tender. It's still really, really tight. I just tore the distal bicep tendon down there, so they had to reattach it. I get a nifty little scar right here, but now rehab's going good. I'm in a brace when I'm out in public, uh, but the doctor did a really good job. It's there, it's connected. I can kind of flex it right now, but not really.
You
But
freaked me out when you flexed it, brother. I thought it popped off again. I was like, what?
dude, it feels so weird. But um, here in about another 2 weeks, we'll start strength training it, um, and really get me back to where I was at before.
Hey, walk me through that process, because that was one thing that I had a major concern with, was the fact that you were like here in 2 weeks, and I was like, dude, that's like a month recovery. Like, walk me through that. What was the advice given to you by the doctor?
So, once I tore it, your bicep, it's multiple muscles in there, right? And I tore the top long head. That's the one everybody sees. That's a pretty bicep, and you've got another muscle underneath there. So I was still able to use my arm. I was still able to use my hand. I just didn't have the strength there to do anything with it. And so once the doctor confirmed, hey man, you tore it completely off, which was the best thing I could have done because it allows for full repair. We scheduled surgery 10 days after injury, and so I spent 2 weeks in a cast, couldn't move it, couldn't do anything with it. Uh, the way they reattached it, and then I've been in a brace, kind of like a bionic arm, and just slowly massaging it and stretching it out. And then once we get the tendons and ligaments stretched back out, where I can have full extension of my arm, which also gives the pins and needles a chance for everything to heal in place. Then we'll slowly start adding strength to it, man. Start working it back up.
How soon do you think you'll be back, brother? Honestly, I'm excited. I consider you my biggest competition in the gym. So, when will you be back to 100 so we can throw down again?
Right now, legs, let's go, baby. I mean, we can squat all day long. Let's get a safety squat bar going, man, and we can get after it. Um, they say up to 4 months, so they're thinking sometime in June. Um, you know, I'll be well on my way, but before I get like fully released, it probably won't be until June.
Well, that's unfortunate, but hey, you tell you what though, you'll be happy to hear that I will be going to safety squat bar here pretty soon. So, I'd be more than happy to throw down on legs with you again. Actually, there is a video on this channel of me and him doing a leg day. Now, you missed a lot of the good parts, but me and him falling out of the dang leg extension after about 30, 40 reps, 30, 40 sets on the leg extension. Honestly, that was very, very fun. I'm super excited to get back to that. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. First off, I want to ask you, like, what things, because I know a lot of people, like for me, whenever it came to strength, a lot of things in my childhood played a crucial role in my run for strength. One being, I just, growing up, every kid wants to be a superhero. Every kid wants to be that guy, and so being strong, being athletic was always a thing. I mean, later on in my years, I kind of got fat. I mean, I still am, but I'm getting there. I'm ever so slowly getting there. But what from your childhood led you to your journey in strength?
You know, I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. That's right in the era of Arnold, Sylvester Stallone, those guys, RoboCop, He-Man, just these big, ginormous dudes coming around and just beating the crap out of everybody and saving the day and didn't even think twice about moving stuff around. I thought, dude, that would always be so cool to to be that. That's a lot of my influence. GI Joe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those guys are always built and stacked, and and in my mind and in my head growing up, it's like, dude, I want to be like that one day when I grow up. And yeah, this is kind of where some of this has come from. Being able to basically stand up for the little guy. Because when I grew up, I was a little beanpole kid, man. I was real tall and lanky, and just wasn't a big kid. And uh, so, and, being able to go, man, one day maybe I can be that big guy that can, goes around helping everybody else.
I imagine that's probably why you're a firefighter now as well. I imagine that plays a very crucial role.
I think it does, man. I think it does. I remember, oh God, I remember I was in kindergarten, man. And this has stuck with me to this day. So anytime I give a fire station tour, I will never do what those guys did that day. And we were visiting the fire station. Remember, we were in class, and I remember them saying that the firemen were going to come out and show us some stuff. The suits they wear, the turnout gear, the air packs with the bottles and the mask and the helmets and all that kind of stuff. Well, this guy freaking comes out fully dressed. Okay, so you got to think, you're in kindergarten and you see this behemoth of a man come out, dude. He's got this helmet on, he's got this mask. They had these long hoses coming down from their faces, and he sounds like Darth Vader when he's breathing, dude. And I remember just scared the hell out of all of us. Kids are crying. Some kid peed his pants. It was mass pandemonium, dude. It was freaking horrible, dude. But it was freaking awesome. But because of that day right there, man, I said, man, still wanted to be a fireman. And when I became one, I always said, anytime I do a presentation for little kids, I will get dressed in front of them and not just come out of a door ready to scare the hell out of everybody.
That's hilarious to hear. And real quick, just going back to like the Arnold and whatnot, I can totally agree to that. I was raised and spent a lot of time with my grandparents, so they were real big into Arnold. They were also big into football. My uncle, he watched a lot of the World's Strongest Man, so of course, where I ended up was strongman, and so I can see where those things definitely pushed you in that and to where we are now, to what we're doing now, and especially with you and the firefighting thing, that's hilarious. I mean, right now it's probably hilarious. I imagine at the time it wasn't. I imagine at the time it was probably horrifying, but uh you know I don't know. I think I probably shouldn't be the one then showing kids the suits and whatnot, because I feel like I would burst into the room.
It left a
And
scar, that's for sure.
yeah, well, shoot, hey man, honestly, and back onto you also sticking for the little man. Shoot, for a while there, I was the little man, and you were like the only one sticking up for me, even though I wasn't too little. You're actually, and then just touching on right now, I said you are a firefighter. Like what's that like for you? What's that like with you, like in correlation to your strength career? Because I know that must play like a vital role as to how you're scheduling, your timing, how you do your training, and when you do your events. What impact does that have on your training overall?
It's definitely not the traditional schedule. We work what we call a modified Kelly, which are 24-hour shifts, but they're 10 days a month. So I'll work 3 shifts with a day off in between, and then I'll get 4 days off. And so a lot of time my training will work around those days. Especially if I'm getting in prep mode for a comp. I may have to double up training days on my days off, um, just because of how my work schedule hits. And yeah, I mean, there are those days, yeah, we're up two, three, four, 5 times at night, after 10 o'clock at night, or, on occasion, hell, we'll be up all night long, so I'm busting a 26, 27 hour day before I ever get home. And so, yeah, the next day, most of it's spent sleeping and eating and trying to recover from that. And so there are times I'll push through and get a training session in, and there are times when I prioritize the sleep and the rest, because the rest is just as important as any leg day that you get. So yeah, there may be days I just write that whole day off and say today's nothing but food and sleep, and I'll pick back up in a couple days.
I can see how that would be extremely stressful. I try to do the especially with the double training shifts, like doing that twice in one day. I could not. I've tried it. It's horrible. And then to have to work a 24-hour shift, I could barely get through 8 hours without getting angry. So, I could only imagine. I'd probably start throwing punches and, trying to chunk someone off a building.
Now, I will say that the stations, they have a gym there. They've got workout equipment. None of the specialty stuff you need for strongman, but you can still get a cardio workout in. You can still get a bench press, a squat, a deadlift day in there, whatever, arms and shoulders. And then on my days off in between, I may double up and implement training. At, it may be a stone over bar at the gym, followed by a log press or yoke carry or something, or whatever the implement is for that day, and work the accessories at the station when I can.
Yeah, it's like that. Hey, I don't think how they say walk a mile in their shoes. I don't think I want to walk a mile or even 10 feet in your shoes, man. I think I'll be good on that. But honestly, and in many ways, I look up to you as almost a hero for me. I know like a lot of people, they focus on the icons, they focus on like the Brian Shaws, which of course I see Brian Shaw as one of my heroes, and they focus on, like the Brock Lesnar's, the Cain
Yeah.
Velasquez's, but like you've been a hero to me, both in here in Amarillo in the gym and outside, just seeing the way you portray yourself publicly, it's
Mm.
inspiring.
Thank you, man. I try. I try to take pride in who I am as a man and as a person. And I'm a father to three boys, and I always wanted them to be respectful, be proud for themselves, and be caretakers. Once you learn to take care of yourself, and once you have respect for yourself, and respect for the things that you do, and things that you want to do, to me, that's when you can start res- being able to give that respect to other people, not only man to man, but even as a spouse, being able to take care of your family. You have to learn to take care of yourself first before you can take care of anybody else. And yeah, so I take pride and keep myself in shape. I take pride in my education, whether it's health and fitness education, whether it's fire department education, whether it's just education in life. Just going out and meet new people and having different experiences. I try to take in as much of that as I can.
I can definitely agree with that. I can definitely attest to, especially when it comes to the education part. And as far as the self-respect, my grandfather, he was really, really, really hard on us with, showing respect to not only others, but ourselves as well, and demanding respect for ourselves, not necessarily in the way of forcing it on people, but, we should have a standard for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that's played a very crucial role in how I kind of push myself into the strongman community, because as you know, the strongman community can be very, very hard about respect. It's not
Yeah.
played with, it's not played lightly. And so I've definitely come in and I've definitely tried to be as respectful as possible. I know sometimes I can be a little bit extra, but I try to tone it back. I've been learning. And as far as education, I've honestly I've been working very hard to educate myself now that I'm, you know, pushing myself as a coach more than I'm pushing myself as an athlete, because I see my coaching for myself as the long-term goal over being an athlete. And so educating myself on different subjects, but that's very, very important for me, and I can agree with you on that.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, excuse me. Getting out there and getting experience. You and I were talking about that the other day. Getting out there and going to the shows, doing these competitions, and and just getting the flow for how things go, and not just competition wise, man, but getting yourself out there. Getting off of social media for a while, get off the screen and go be a freaking human with other people. And learn the human aspect of all this stuff. I think that's what a lot of people are missing. They sit in their own little world right there, and for a lack of term, the people forget how to people sometimes, and that connection. I think that's why I love about strongman and strength sports. Is you'll meet people from so many backgrounds that you wouldn't even have thought would be in the strongman, would be in the powerlifting, would be in the bodybuilding or whatever. And just hearing those stories and their experiences, and just getting to meet people that way, man, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I can certainly agree with you on that. That's definitely been probably the highlight of my strength career so far is the individuals and the fellowship that is in strongman, with between competitors, the respect competitors have for each other, the support and the morale that the competitors provide to each other, that has been very, very implemental into why I've continued to be in strongman. And I can definitely agree with you. There's a lot of people who definitely lack the social aspect. I know so many people that can't even, do a job interview without falling apart, and that's
Yeah.
just one-on-one, man. So that's definitely something I can completely agree with you on. And I'll say myself, I don't think I'm lacking very much on the interpersonal communications. I think sometimes I might be a little too much with the interpersonal communications. A lot of people can definitely be like, God damn, man, he won't stop talking. But you know, I was like sometimes actually, I think I might need to dial it back sometimes in the interpersonal communications, because a lot of people might get a little overwhelmed by me. But I can certainly agree with you on that. It's a very important thing to get out there, get talking, get to know individuals, because oftentimes that's the way that you get new opportunities. That's how you grow as a person. So that
Yeah.
I can agree on that. I know we've been hitting the subject of strongman like a lot. We've been hitting it. So, I kind of want to talk to you about your strength career. I know you started, I want to say it was 2017. Am I correct?
Actually, 2015. Well, this current phase about 2015, but actually, I this this whole thing actually started about 2013 or so. Uh, mid, see, it would have been May of 2013. I had just finished running the Oklahoma City half marathon, and I looked in the mirror afterwards, and man, I didn't like the person who I saw. You know, I half-ass trained for it. I did supplements here and there, whatever else. And I mean, I did it. I made it through. I stuck with the program, but I physique wise, I wasn't happy with what I saw in the mirror after that. I had been a fireman for, see, I got on in 04 to 13. So what is that? I can't math right now.
19 years.
Well, no, 2004 to 2013.
Oh, okay, okay. I was about to say, damn, that's 9 years right
Um,
there.
9 years. So, in my mind, I didn't look like what I thought a fireman should look like. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make some changes. And so I got into CrossFit. That's when I met my very best friend right now, Kat Dooley. You guys check it out on Instagram, Lifting Kitty. And she was a CrossFit trainer at the time, and so I was doing the classes there. Actually, I went to school with her husband. That's how we met. Um, and so we were doing CrossFit, and at some point in all that, we did a strength cycle, and I thoroughly enjoyed the strength cycle a hell of a lot more than I did CrossFit. I'm like, what is this? This is awesome.
I'm surprised you enjoyed
And so,
CrossFit.
it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun for a little bit. And because to me, strongman's kind of like CrossFit, except it's just way heavier and not as long, you know. And I'll probably get shit for that, but that's all right. But I bounced around the CrossFit world for a couple years, and then towards the end of 2015, I ran back into Cat because she had gone off and done some different things, and she's telling me she was opening up a powerlifting gym. I'm like, okay, cool. When does it open up? And she says, actually, this Saturday. I'm saying, perfect, I'll be there. So I was actually the very first person to walk through Old School Iron's doors the day that it opened, and man, went there, and man, we started working out, and she started talking about wanting to do a powerlifting meet. And at the time, I had no idea what powerlifting was. I don't know. I was like, okay, well, what do we do? And so she started telling me all about it. It's like, all right, I'm in. And so February of 16, we did our first powerlifting meet, and that just kind of snowballed from there. Um, you know, we got to looking at other meets. We did a handful of powerlifting meets, and then she was interested. She was into strongman as well. She had some strongman equipment there, and I had no idea what strongman was other than what I had seen on TV, like you were talking about. Growing up watching World's Strongest Man on the weekends when it would air. And so I remember guys coming in and start doing some of the stuff. I'm like, dude, what is this? Like this is kind of cool. This is different. I like this. And so started getting into strongman, and then we got into nutrition. She started talking about this food program called Renaissance Periodization, and we're like, man, if we can get our food fixed in, we can perform better. I'm like, hey, I'm down for all this. Let's go. And so everything just kind of snowballed after that. We bounced around between powerlifting, and then we did strongman and powerlifting and more strongman, and playing with our food and playing with supplements and this and that. And so from 2015 up until COVID, man, I was rocking and rolling with strongman and powerlifting, messing with food and this and that. And actually to about the end of 18, because I had some good friends of mine call me out talking about that I've done all these power and strength sports. Why haven't I tried bodybuilding? So I said, screw it, let's do it. We're going to do a bodybuilding show. So I did my very first bodybuilding show in mid 2019, and then COVID hit and shut all that down.
And real quick, because I wanted to hit on the bodybuilding next, but two key things that I was like, damn, when I pulled away from that was, one, you've been lifting longer or just as long as I've been alive. So yeah, I was like, when you talk, because I know you talked to me a lot about it takes years, but it takes years of dedication, years of hard work. You've literally been doing this as long as I've been breathing. and probably
Man,
then
you make me
some.
feel old.
But
Making me feel old.
and on top of that, actually Kat is one of the people I wanted to have on this podcast. Like she's honestly made an amazing impact as well, and she's the reason why I've continued to push myself in education, because every time I walk in there I get educated, so I'm getting tired of it. Shit.
Hey
I don't
man,
like it. I don't like.
it's forever, man. You're gonna be learning this shit forever, dude. And yeah, I was talking to you about this the other day. You know, I've been lifting pretty regularly and pretty hardcore since 2015, right? And it seemed like every other event or after every competition I did, I would come back to the gym and I would break all my movements back down to the basics. I'd break everything back down to the basics. I mean, we're starting all over again with squat 135. Where am I firing off wrong? Where are my strong points? Where are my weak points? Well, do I need to work on coming out of the hole? Do I need to work on the drop down? Do I need to work on my lockout? So it's going to be it's for me. It's been lifelong, man. And even today, even after the Arnold and, tearing my bicep. I still go back and look at those videos. And, once I get released and get to use my hand training again, I'm gonna break down my farmer's carry. I stumbled on my farmer's carry at the Arnold. My overhead press. I was having issues with my explosiveness, getting out of the hole, and getting my lockout on some of my overhead carries, and definitely working on my power stairs again. Trusting my overhand grip instead of going to that over under, which ultimately caused this injury. But there's never, to me, there's never a stopping point. There's never a stopping point. We're always going to find that weakness. And, I don't see weakness as a failure. I don't see that as a bad thing. To me, to find those weaknesses in those movements, that's a starting point. We need to work on this. We'll focus on this and bring this up to par to everything else, and keep going and keep moving.
And I can definitely say that you pushed me to do that, actually, because as those who know me, I competed this past weekend, and that's what I've been doing. Is I've been probably a little bit more complex, but I've been basically doing a biomechanical analysis on everything I've been doing, everything that went wrong. Of course, the medley, I guess I was too strong for the medley. I hurled the keg across the table, and just, but definitely the breaking down of everything, and the finding out what I can do better is going to be a very, very crucial thing for me to figure out. And hopefully I can do it soon. I don't think I'll ever finish, finding out why I'm wrong. I think that's something I'm really good at, is telling myself what I'm doing wrong. But as far as like growing as not just an athlete too, as going back and seeing, where were my failures in, school, where were my failures at work whenever I leave, where were my failures, with social media. I'm not necessarily the best when it comes to social media. I'm definitely trying though, but I'm learning every day something new. Sometimes I learn things from you and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be old? Like, you know. But yeah,
I have a saying, uh, when was the last time you did something for the first time? And I try to remind myself of that often, because I'm guilty of it. I see people guilty of it all the time. We learn a certain thing and we get comfortable and we're like, yeah, I'm confident in my comfortability, but then we never continue to grow. We become stagnant, and I mean that in all aspects of life. Uh, whether it's relationships, professional life, strongman, your career, whatever it is. I think we forget that, once we learn something and we get good at it, all right, let's learn something else. Let's add to this. What else can we do with this? I'm not saying don't be proud of where you've come from and what you've done. No, I think we should always stop and enjoy our failures along with our rewards, because it all ties together in the end. But that being able to be humble enough to still be a student. I'll give you a great example of this, man. I'm 41 years old, and when I was 37, just 4 of those short years ago, was the very first time I went snowboarding. And I knew nothing about snowboarding, right? Nothing. So I go to Angel Fire and I sign up for a snowboarding class, right? It's like, all right, snowboarding 101 right here. And so I'm in a group of about 6 people. I'm 37. The next person behind me, he was 12. And then they were all younger than that. So yeah, trust me, it feels weird to be in a group with some kids all learning the same thing 101 from the same teacher, and you're like, I am older than the person teaching this class. But hey, my life experience never gave me the opportunity to do that when I was younger. So yeah, it feels weird when your instructor is 22 years old, but you talk to them and they've been snowboarding since they were 6. you know that's 14 years of snowboarding experience to my 37 years of age with 0.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we get to that point in our lives where like, oh man, I'm this age, I shouldn't have to be learning this stuff, blah blah blah. No, no, that's not how it works.
Well, even
Not
for
how it
me,
works.
you know how I am, brother. I can be kind of hard headed sometimes. Like I really am. I think that's probably one of my greatest strengths and weaknesses. Is sometimes I can be just a little too hard headed. Um, Especially when it comes to learning things from other people. Because I can say that I can agree with you. There is an issue with people and sometimes getting stagnant and sometimes just getting used to being in just like this comfortable position. But sometimes you need to get uncomfortable to keep growing, you know? And so that's one thing I've taken from you is every time me and you trained, you'd put me in the most uncomfortable training, but I would get so much better from it. And so that's one thing I'm implementing now is whenever I train, I try to take an approach of where am I least you know, how would I say this? Where am I least comfortable at?
Yeah.
Yeah, because where am I most incompetent? There we go. Where am I most incompetent when it comes to my training? That's a better training. That's a better you know, better phrasing for it because where am I least comfortable? I don't think anybody's comfortable during training, you know. I don't think anybody's like, hey man, let's slap 400 pounds on my back, 600, 700 pounds on my back, and you know, let's just take this for a joyride. No, yeah, this
Take it
feels
for a
amazing.
ride.
Yeah, it's tearing to
You,
the back of my traps.
you know, I was told a long time ago, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's the only
Exactly.
way you're going to progress in strength. And it's true. You know, lifts, you know, you've heard me say it in the gym all the time. Lifts never feel as pretty as they look.
Yeah.
They
I'll
never
tell you this,
do.
you're actually the one who told me that saying was never get comfortable with being uncomfortable or get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And
And
I
yeah,
think it
that
was Kat that told me that. I want to say I'm pretty sure it was Kat that told me that, and I'm like, okay,
so, well, you know what's
all
funny
right.
is you've seen my impression of Cat, haven't you?
I don't think I had.
Oh, it's a great man. Where you know, whenever she's sitting across the gym, and you'll see that she'll get like the Eddie Hall face where she's like, where she'll see something. You'll be squatting on the other side, and she'll see something. She'll come over, and I laugh because I told him I said I can't train when Cat and Taco are here because if it's like Taco, if Cat will come talk to me and already know what she's gonna say before she gets there. And if Cat's not there, Taco's telling me the same thing that she's telling me. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, I just can't get away from her.
I don't want you to get hurt, man. Don't want you to get hurt. You know, like I said, this is my first true injury in strength sports, man. It really is. You know, here I am pushing 8 years of strength training, and this is my first true injury. Yeah, I've had little strains and sprains and you know along the way, which you know that's normal for anything. You know, I mean, hell, I went snowboarding and you know strained a quad muscle.
You know how many
Uh,
people I know that strain their legs from walking? Like it's like, dude,
oh,
that's like
it's
a
ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. So I'm pretty happy to say, you know, 8 years of strength training, and you know, this is my first true injury. So,
you're doing better than me. I dropped a log on my foot, so you know.
whoo.
So oh, and I dropped an Atlas stone on my head. You know, I got a whole slew. Maybe I should be listening to y'all a little bit better. And to jump on the next subject because I know y'all did bodybuilding.
hmm
And it was like one thing I admire about you and Kat is y'all don't just do something like yeah, like y'all hit it to the metal, and I think I take a lot of that from y'all is that if you're gonna do it, dude, just do it. Like there's no midway, there's no, oh, I'm gonna kind of do this, kind of do that. If you're gonna do it, just get in there and get it done. Don't bullshit around, don't be slacking off, just you know, hit it to pedal to the metal. And I mean, honestly, and I probably will throw it in this video, like dude, you took a 180 turn, like from strongman. You looked like me, and I don't look good. I told him I'll be at the beach with my shirt on, you know, my shirt on, maybe even a sweater, man. And you went from that to being like to being the mustache daddy. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, in my mind, and you know, when I say I'm going to do something, well, let's fucking do it. Let's see what this is all about. I want to be able to wholeheartedly say, yeah, I have trained for whatever, well, we'll go bodybuilding. I can honestly say I have trained for bodybuilding. I I completely revamped all my food, all my training, all my supplements, my complete lifestyle, you know, because we all know to be proficient, to be good at something, you have to immerse yourself in that. And so and part of that is part of the challenge as well. Can I how well can I dedicate myself to this, all for this one end result. But yeah, man, my first show, I went from a solid 215, 220 down to 179 the night when I weighed in for weigh-ins, so I'm up on stage, 180 pounds and yeah,
Dude, that's the
probably
same cut I made this competition.
less than 6% body fat,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the same. That's about that. That was 40 pounds. That was the same cut I made for this past competition from 260 to 220. But I don't think I'll ever get down to 179. I think I'm a little too big for that. But no, honestly, dude, you looked great on stage whenever you were in bodybuilding. And walk me through that. Like, what was it like? Because honestly, I haven't been 179 since like middle school. Like, what was that like making that change? Because I know a lot of people, like a lot of friends I have, a lot of them struggle coming from training aesthetics to come into strength. A lot of people that I bring in are a lot of my new athletes that trained for aesthetics for a long time. Coming to strength was like a whole different ball game for them. What was it like going from strength to aesthetic training to bodybuilding training?
It was a mind fuck. I'm not gonna lie. It was definitely a mind fuck going from, when you're training for strength. Yeah, it's all about the extra calories. Yeah, you're kind of cognizant of what you're eating, but not really. Now all of a sudden you're like, this is all I'm supposed to eat, or some people think that this is all I'm allowed to eat. You know, uh, and you realize it's no longer about the strength, which was really hard. That was a really hard thing to grasp and get around to understand. Yeah, you're going to lose strength along the way because you are gradually starving yourself down. That's what it is. But being able to understand, okay, it's not about the strength, it's about a final product. And so in my head, it was like, all right, how good of a product can I make? You get 6 meals a day, you get 6 great opportunities, 7 opportunities during the day. How well can you stick to this food program, to this structure? How well can you organize your life to help fit this as well? To go, hey, I'm supposed to eat at 10 a.m., but I got to get to the dentist. All right, well, I should schedule my appointments in between 10 and 11 so that way I got time to eat. And well, I'm supposed to be at training at 6 p.m., but I still got laundry to do, and I'm supposed to be home by 8 and eat. So, you find those ways to like, hey, at 5 o'clock, I got to throw this load of laundry in, and it should be done by this time. And, so you become very regulated and not only in your food, not only in your training, but in your life. And really for me, that helped me in a lot of ways to organize my life outside of fitness. And so, but yeah, it did kind of suck as we were getting close to the show. Yeah, it's great to start seeing those veins pop out. You got the veins in your abs popping, your abs are popping. You get the veins in your shoulder. You're like, oh hell yeah, all right, okay. And then you start realizing, man, none of your clothes fits anymore, dude. Like
And
none of your
I
clothes
imagine
fits.
I imagine it was also probably a mind fuck after competition whenever you lose that vascularity too. I imagine that probably was a little
Oh,
bit.
dude, coming out, the body dysmorphia was for real. It
It's like
was for
Harley
real.
calls himself fat, and I'm like, okay.
And even right now, I'm walking around about 205 right now, and it still feels a little weird to be this size to me because because when you work so hard for an end goal and you get there, like I said, 180 pounds, sub 6% body fat, clothes and life just feel completely way different than being right now at 205. Do I look bad right now? No. Like you said, right now, if we went to the lake or we went to the beach, dude, I would have no worries about taking my shirt off.
Bro, I'm gonna
Uh,
go in with sweaters, floaties, sweatpants, um,
yes.
maybe a winter coat. Like, oh no, like I'm gonna be in Myrtle Beach for like a week, and there's not much beach for me. I look like a dang walrus in the sea. I think I'd fit better in Alaska than I would in South
Oh
Carolina.
man. But I think once you begin to understand why you do the bodybuilding, I know some people it is easier for them to stay at that leaner size. For me, I understood realistically that wasn't an option for me, especially with my firefighting. Yeah, I can do it on occasion for shows or whatever else, but being that lean for me, especially in my career setting, was a little detrimental. I did find myself more fatigued on fire scenes. I did find myself, kind of worried about, God, uh, I hope this scene isn't as involved as it looks like it's going to be. And I did find myself having to carry extra food with me on the truck that I normally didn't have to do, to help feed me through some of these longer scenes. Well, we're pushing 30, 45 minutes into the scene and I'm freaking spent. So, I'm heading over to the truck, getting me something to eat, just so that I got enough calories to get through this. uh, for me, as I got down to the final few weeks of the show, yeah, I would take those weeks completely off of work because, I didn't want to put my guys in jeopardy of me being that fatigued. I didn't want to put myself in jeopardy for being that fatigued, especially when you get prep brain, you don't have the fats in your body that you're used to. Your cognitive ability comes down a little bit, you don't process as fast. And so, uh, for me professionally, it's not something I want to deal with or put my guys under the scrutiny of having to deal with when I'm on prep. Uh, but yeah, it did teach me a lot about food. It taught me how to refeed myself coming out of shows, how to feed myself to build strength as clean as I can. So that's what I say now. I can still go to the lake right now and not really worried about taking my shirt off.
Here's the thing. I don't think honestly it'll stop me from taking my shirt off, but like everybody will be like, "Who's that fat guy?" And that guy that actually look. It's like the joke of what I tell a lot of my athletes, because when they come in when my athletes come into strength training, I ask them. I said, "Do you want to look strong or do you want to be strong?" And now, of course, there's a middle line. There's people that are strong and they look it too.
Yeah.
But then there's me. Like you look at me and they're like, "Who's this fat piece of crap telling me that I need to squat better?" And, and so there's definitely a line there. And like for me, you'll never catch me being a bodybuilder. As much as and like what Kat said, because at one point I did want to try it. Like I was kind of in that Alex Eubank, Chris Bumstead, Ronnie Coleman like phase, whenever you're coming into
Yeah.
lifting and you're realizing that, damn man, being a strongman isn't nearly as fun as some people make it out to be sometimes. like honestly, like the eating too. Like like I know you kind of criticized me a lot on this was how much I eat sometimes, which I'm never gonna say you were wrong. Like I definitely there was times like if like yesterday we had a conversation with one of my buddies, Caden, and he was telling me, he's like, I can't gain weight. I can't gain weight. I eat so much food. And I was like, no, you don't. And he's like, yes, I do. And I was like, trust me, dude, you don't eat enough. And he's like, well, what do you know? And I'm like, okay, well, hear me out, bro. Me on Boken Face, I start the morning with 2.5 pounds of oatmeal and a half pound of berries, man. Like, and I know you
Yeah.
would heavily criticize me on that because, maybe that's like, about 600 grams of carbs or whatnot. You probably wouldn't be too proud of me about that, but yeah, I definitely there's definitely a nutritional aspect difference on the bodybuilding versus strongman, and especially like past the weight classes. Once you get to the open, once you get to the pro level, it gets worse. And I couldn't do bodybuilding. I did my first cut ever this past week, like this past 2 weeks, and man, I was slammed. I can see what you meant by not wanting to risk your team, because dude, I'd get out of a chair and I'd be out of breath. Like I was like, dude, I can't do
they're
this.
they're not they're not for the weak of heart, man. And that cut you did, that I can't believe you did that. That was
18 hours in the
insanity.
sauna in 2 days.
That was insanity, man. Like my mind was a little bit more controlled, but no, I get it. I get asked a lot, you know, because I am, in my 40s now, and people are like, dude, like, what do you take? This and that, blah blah blah. And honestly, it goes all the way back to my first powerlifting meet when Kat and I start studying or got on to that Renaissance periodization food program, and then we've we've read the books and we educated ourselves on nutrition, and so we have added our personal touches to those. But basically, all of my stuff comes down to food, how clean I eat. I do eat a lot of whole foods. I stay away from a lot of sugars and processed foods. Um, Still super lean cuts of beef and chicken and turkey and fish, and then there are days I'm completely plant based. Um, I'll do completely plant based meals in there as well. But the vast majority of my stuff comes from the food that I eat. And like you said, eating enough to maintain what you have, or eating enough to build, or eating enough to cut. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand, when you're doing a true long-term cut, you're actually eating a lot more food than what people realize to get your metabolism going in those directions you want them to go. And so, yeah, so like right now for me, for this bicep tendon, it's it's been uh it's been eating for recovery. So, we've kind of pulled the carbs back a little bit. We're keeping the hydration high. We're keeping the protein lean and clean. So that way my body has enough protein, enough hydration, enough nutrients to rebuild this the strongest that it'll rebuild. So that way we can prevent a future re-tear going forward.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and that's something that I believe I'm gonna have to figure out for myself is
Yeah.
how do I want to go about the nutrition? Because I know you have your ways, Kat has her ways, and it's not me saying that I couldn't do the way y'all do it, but there's definitely factors that I'm gonna have to play in on my own role in order to be able to figure it out. And I know for certain that there is stuff that I need to do. I do need to get my nutrition under check. Like the other day, Kat got on to me because I was cracking jokes. I was like, you know what, screw the nutrition, man. Where's the trick or treat bag? I'm finna have this assortment of green, purple, and red needles. Like, I told her, I said, I'm gonna pull the Ronnie Coleman, just the basic stuff, or
Just the basics.
we were cracking a joke at the competition. I told him, I said, I'm going to write a musical called "The Test Necessities" from the Jungle Book.
Everybody's their own science experiment, man. And the way I eat is definitely different than a lot of people eat out there.
I thought you were going to say
And
me, and I was like, oh, most certainly. I freaking eat
oh
donuts
yeah,
and Whataburger.
I love my dude. I have a weakness for donuts. All right, like you bring some donut holes into the gym, dude, and I'm like a little crackhead going.
You should have been a cop.
Damn it. But no cops.
he's like leave it to Jenkins, man.
No.
He looks like he eats donuts.
But everybody is their own science experiment, and you have to figure out what foods feed you the best, what foods react with you in a good way, what foods don't react with you in a good way. And it's just it's a process, dude. It's a long process to figure out how to eat for your body. And what's great now is they've got so many online help things for that. You can go get those DNA tests to kind of help guide you in the right direction. But ultimately, until you sit down and go, all right, I'm going to eat a certain way for X amount of time and see what that does. That's the only real way that you can start getting your diet under control. And that sucks because I've done it for years, and it sucks sometimes.
Yeah, I can agree on that. And and this honestly, and I just want to take a second to just show my appreciation towards you, because I know and I'm pretty sure you've met a lot of people like this. There's a lot of people that they enjoy having the company of kiss asses. Part of my language. I cannot stand that. And I think the thing that I appreciate the most about you is you tell it how it is for yourself and the people around you. And that's one thing that's definitely been very, very, very like important to my decision to, be like getting closer to you, because I always felt like the people who were willing to call me out on my shit were the people I wanted around, because I needed someone to tell me that I was fucking up.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like, especially even now, like looking back at my competition, looking back at how I performed, a lot of that definitely could have been prevented. A lot of that exhaustion could have been prevented if I had just eaten better. If I would have just taken care of myself better, then I wouldn't have had to made a 40-pound cut to compete in competition. And I wouldn't have had to done it like day before. And so those things, just looking back, and honestly, like, you told me, like, I called you right after the competition. I was like, this sucked. I hated it. Da, da, da. Like, I'm thinking about just going to this weight class, and you're like, no, dude, like, he's like, you told me specifically, he said, you can be a lean and mean 220 athlete easily. He's like, you might even be 230, maybe 240. But he's like, before you worry about getting to these heavier weights, before you worry about doing all this other stuff, you need to get your damn nutrition in check. You need to start eating right. Because if you don't eat right, you're not going to be able to perform correctly. And I already know Kat's going to lay into me.
Oh
Like,
yeah, she didn't say the same damn thing.
yeah, she's gonna lay right into me. And that's what she told me, because I've thought about going to the open, just because I feel like it'd be a little bit more manageable to be in the open. But she's laid it out for me with this, about saying that I need to master the 231s before I even consider going to the open. And I agree. I definitely agree, especially because the way I would get to open definitely wouldn't be the healthiest. And so I heavily appreciate you. I heavily appreciate Kat. I heavily appreciate all y'all guys, because y'all have always cut the shit, and not just like, be like just kind of casually, like, no, like, y'all tell me straight up, like, dude, you're fucking up. Like, you're gonna dig yourself in a hole if you fucking do that. And
Yeah.
no, and I already know, like, if I was to come to you with the personal thing and it was me fucking up, you wouldn't tell me. And that's part of my language, everybody. But Taco, he would not hesitate to tell me that I'm fucking up. He'd be like, dude, bud, he's like, you're screwing up right now. You're fucking yourself. And if you don't get your shit in line, you're gonna mess yourself up for good. And so I've always heavily appreciated you for that. And I've also always heavily appreciated how honest you were. Like, and during this whole podcast, you've been pretty open with everything. Like, you haven't, mind talking about, your struggles and the things you had to do in your strength career, and the time it took for you to get to this point. And that's something that I definitely, it, like, you remember whenever I first came into strongman, I was like, dude, 3 years, world's strongest man, let's go.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember you coming in. You're like, I'm gonna rule the fucking world with all this shit, my dude. Slow down,
Yeah. and,
slow
and
down.
that was something that, like, could I have done it? Probably. But I would have been there for 1 year and I probably would have died. Like, and
you,
so
you know,
that was,
I was going back and say, I've always enjoyed the hard truth. Yeah, it sucks sometimes. It really does. But when you begin to realize that when people tell you the hard truth, it's not because they're trying to be an asshole. It's because they really want you to succeed. And I've had those people in my life. They just straight up called me on my bullshit too. And yeah, it sucks. It hurts the ego a little bit, and hurts the pride a little bit because nobody likes to be told they're wrong. But in the grand scheme of things, I've always appreciated people like that as well. I had the same issues with food early on as well. I was big in Whataburger and freaking, whatever else along the way. And it was never happy with myself. And I wouldn't be honest with myself of, hey, you're eating like shit, you're gonna look like shit, you're gonna feel like shit. And it wasn't until people start really calling me out that's like, all right, I need to change this.
Yeah, I can agree. And that's something that, as I said, like as you did, you worked on it. Shit, and you even say now, like even still, you're figuring it out. And I imagine you're probably
Yeah.
getting a lot closer. You're probably a lot closer than where I'm at. I'm just starting. I hope you're not just starting. You've been doing this for a couple of years, but
Well, it depends. It depends on the goal. What's the next goal? I've never done a true bulk. I've thought about pushing myself to a solid, 225. That's a 20-pound gain. Like
that
that
has
would
that.
that would be a challenge for me because I've never done a true bulk like that. I've always, little builds, little builds, little builds, do a cut, little builds, little builds, do a cut. But we'll see how I feel after coming back from this. I may turn around and just do a true freaking bulk and be like, all right, let's eat 5,000 calories a day every day for the next 6 months and see how this goes.
Yeah, and that's something that, like, for me, you might have seen me kind of like laugh a little bit. Is like, it's funny to hear like true bulk, I'm gonna go to 225, and I'm like, dude, if I did a true bulk, I'd be like 476 by like next month, like, because because like, and that's something I've always found interest in, is seeing where people's ideas of their training, where their nutrition is, where their ideas are on what they consider to be periodization, nutrition,
Mm.
what's training hard. Like a lot of my athletes, like one person who honestly surprised me was Vienna. Was like, she was very, 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 Vienna's one of my athletes for everyone, but
Mm.
you know how I was like, you think you train hard. Like I was always one of those people. I'd come in and be like, well, if you train this hard, I'm gonna train like 10 times harder than you. And um I find that always interesting, is just seeing everyone's perspective in strength. And that's what I love about strongman. It's like when I go to these competitions, a lot of times I'm talking to people and just getting their perspective on things. It's like for you, as you said, you're a true bulk 225. For me, what my idea of a true bulk would be is getting to the 300s again. Like,
Yeah.
and now you're looking at me and you're like, dude, that's stupid. Like that's completely unhealthy. If you smash out to the 300s in like 3 months, like you're gonna be like 95% body fat. And I
And
get that.
miserable. You're gonna be freaking miserable.
Oh, I probably will be. I'll probably be blood pressure to the gills. Like, but I love, that's why I love speaking to you. I love speaking to the other lifters, because seeing that perspective, not just necessarily seeing it as like amusement or seeing it as like just kind of like this interesting thing, but seeing it as, okay, well, if that's how they view it and that's the way they see things, how do I apply this new knowledge to myself, especially with more experienced lifters? Now, there's always that guy, that new guy right here, that comes in and he's got this perspective, that you're just like, dude, shut up. Like, you're gonna find out like here in like 3 weeks, anyways. You're about to compete, like, and so, um, seeing that perspective from more experienced lifters of how they view training, how they view eating, how they view their sleep, how they view their daily life and their life stress, and seeing whether or not, okay, so this person's at this point, do I need to bring myself up to that, or should I dial myself back? So like at one point, I'm pretty sure you remember, I was training 6 times a week,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, I remember that.
it wasn't short training sessions. It was like 4 or 5 hours, 6 times a week, like 30 hours in the gym. I was working a full-time job, basically training in the gym. And I remember you telling me, you're like, dude, strength does not come from being in the gym. Strength comes from recovering from the gym. And that right there, and then hearing your stories, hearing how you train, hearing where you're at, I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, maybe I do need to dial it back. Maybe I do need to, you know, do a better job with my sleep, do need to do a better job with managing my life stress. And I did that and my numbers flew. It was like I was coming into the gym for the first time again. I was like, whoa, like, and I imagine it'll probably be like that with the nutrition as well. Like the second that I, decide to get my food correct, which is probably going to be here in a little bit after I go to the store, but getting that my food correct, I imagine my numbers are going to kick right up again, and
Oh yeah.
that's something that I'm definitely going to have to, make sure I maintain over time, make sure I maintain that schedule of eating, make sure I maintain those same habits. And, as I said, that's why I appreciate you so much, is because that's why I chose for you to be my first guest on this, because you were the de facto like change in my lifting, because if it wasn't for you, I probably would have had a torn hamstring. I probably would have already torn my bicep. I would have had a torn pec. I probably would have, incapacitated myself with like former Atlas stones, like.
Right.
And so that's one thing I always appreciated about you, appreciated about all of y'all, and appreciated about a lot of the strongmen that I hang around with, is hearing from y'all's thoughts, hearing from y'all's methods and y'all's ideas, because that structured me to get to the point where I am now. And if it wasn't for that, and if it wasn't for Kat having the gym here, and me being able to train strongman, I would not be where I'm at right now. I'd probably
Oh yeah.
still I'd probably still be, over there talking trash to everybody at Gold's Gym and Correct Fitness.
No, I mean, I tell you, when I trained for World's Strongest Firefighter, I only trained 4 days a week.
That's what I'm doing right
That's
now.
that's all I was doing. I was training 4 days a week. I was doing mobility work, you know, on training days, and in between, I still stay very active, but actually in the gym, hands-on training with implements, I was only doing that 4 days a week. Still finished, like, I said, 17 out of 30 in my weight division, but
With a torn bicep.
with a torn bicep halfway through the last implement.
Yeah.
But yeah, gyms like Old School Iron, dude. Um, I think that's where it's at. Because these, in my experience, traveling around Texas and the United States, and people who have dropped into the gym have told me, they Google search gyms that have, barbell in them or iron in them, and that's a different community of people you'll find.
It's a family.
Yeah, in my opinion, those are more gyms for lifters, people who want to train, that aren't in their bro lifting, doing
Strong,
this, that, whatever else.
strongest guy in the community gym. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I've always had real good experiences with little gyms like that. And personally for me, anytime I go out of town, yeah, those are the gyms I'm looking for when I go train. Push comes to shove, and they don't have a gym like that, or whatever. Yeah, sure, I'll hit an Anytime or a Gold's or whatever I have to. But generally, I try to find gyms like ours, there at Old School Iron, uh, because a lot of times those people get it.
Yeah. They get the push. They get what you're trying to do. And I think that's another thing that I have to learn too, is that, and I'm pretty sure you found this too, is when you talk to your family, when you talk to your friends about what you're doing, a lot of times they don't understand it. A lot of times they don't get why you're doing it, and they don't get what you're doing. Like the other
Yeah.
day, my family, they were telling me, well, why don't you do strongman modestly? And I'm like, what sounds modest about strongman? I was like, the sport is picking up rocks and moving cars, man. Like, that there's nothing that's a Tuesday about that.
Right.
And so, and it's a different perspective, not only between family members and friends, but like when you go to gyms, because a lot of people that are in those community gyms, either it's their New Year's resolution just to get fitter, they're in that bro phase, or they're a high schooler and there's like 40 of them on one bench and they've done 3 sets so far and it's been 12 hours. um but it's different, because a lot of people don't understand the competitive nature of being an athlete, of being in a sport, especially a sport like, weight training and strength training, like CrossFit, your bodybuilding, your powerlifting, your strongman. A lot of people don't understand those concepts and what it really means to be those things, what it means to be, and not just to train them, but to be them competitively, because
Right.
it's just a whole nother beast. And the higher you get in the competition, and the more you do, the the more and more it becomes something outside of normal life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's definitely something I can completely attest to, is just, you know old school iron gave me a home where I had people that understood why, where, and how I was going about my life, because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't have those things. I didn't have those people that really got it. Of course, the one person I did have was my uncle, but even he really didn't get it, because he hasn't played sports for many, many years, and he
Hmm.
he never did, he never did strongman, he never did powerlifting or whatnot. And so, having those people that were there that would basically understand when I said, "Hey, man, you know my goal is to lift 1,154 pounds." Most people can't even conceptualize what 400 pounds feels like, let alone 1,100. And
Yeah.
so it was a blessing. And I know, like, a lot of us, we have like our fights out there and whatnot. We can be a little bit rowdy, but I have always had respect and appreciation for that gym and for everyone involved with that gym, because it has played such an important role in my life and in my personal development. Because before strongman, I was social, so I was talkative, let's put it that way. But I wasn't
Was.
very okay, I am talkative, but I wasn't very sociable. I wasn't very, I wasn't out there, I wasn't in communities. So, and that's what I tell a lot of people, is that when it comes to being sociable in the outside world, I feel like I'm 15.
Hmm.
But when it comes to my age, I'm not 15 years old. Like, I'm not far from it, but you know what I mean? But a lot of what shaped me socially, what shaped me in interacting with people, was from y'all, and was from my interactions that I had because of the gym, because of the people I interacted with daily out there, because of the people who I talked to, because I seen, like I said with you, I seen how you portray yourself publicly. I see how you behave whenever you're in groups of people, and when you're with individuals, especially individuals who are new to the sport, who are new to strength training. That has shaped how I act and how I portray myself publicly. And so, like, that's what I was saying, is that I'm so very appreciative of all of y'all. Like, I can't say it enough, because if I hadn't have been, I probably would have just continued on with my Eddie Hall style personality that I had when I came in, where it was like, fuck all of you, I'm coming in here and I'm gonna lift some heavy ass weight and kick some ass. And so I just, as I said, I wanted to say thank you to you, because
No.
you set me straight in many ways, and you've helped push me, because a lot of times when I doubted myself, when I doubted, like it would say with the podcast, for instance,
Yeah.
I was unsure, and you're like, bro, just fucking do it, like, like, it's great, like, you especially with social media, because I didn't have it when I was a kid. A lot of kids now have social media. Of course, you didn't have social media when you're a kid, it didn't even exist.
It wouldn't have been all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I didn't have social media, I didn't have Snapchat, I didn't have MySpace, Facebook, Instagram. And so, y'all, you've single-handedly pushed me into that realm. You've single-handedly pushed me into building myself in the public domain. And I've seen you've even made your efforts into pushing into the public domain, even as of recently. Shoot, you're on this podcast with me right now. Like, I just wanted to say thank you for all of that, because that has been an amazing ride. I plan to continue that going forward. I plan to continue this podcast and continue to have guests and continue to talk to people and hear everyone's insights and everyone's opinions and everyone's stories. And I thought that because you had a great impact on my story and on my personal life, because not even just the gym, not even just training, take strongman out of it, take weight training, take all of that out of the picture. How I behave personally with people, you have had such an impact on me and such an impact on how I hold myself in regards to others and how I hold myself in regards to my own individual. And so I wanted to say thank you for that.
Man, that means a lot to me, dude. That really does. Thank you.
Of course.
It really does.
And and jumping off of that, I really want to ask, what's next for the Mustache Daddy? What's next for the taco truck? What's next for the squat
Uh,
technician? Screw Squat University. I got the Mustache Daddy at my gym, man. What's next for you?
oh man. Uh, well, right right now I've been studying for promotion exam. I'm trying to promote to captain on the fire department. That'll be pretty interesting. We'll see how that goes. Test is in a couple of weeks. We'll see if I can retain this information. It's a lot of stuff. Career, power sports wise, uh, my first priority is to make sure this heals as best as it's going to heal, and not rush that process. I do ultimately want to get back to World's Strongest Firefighter next March. Uh, talking to some people, talking to my doctor, it's not out of the realm of possibility to be back on that stage next year.
Time for that redemption arc.
Uh, see if we can do better. Like I said, it's never about going in and being the best for me. It's about going in and beating myself.
Yeah,
Can I do better than what I did last time?
I took
I
that
think
from you.
my goal, you know, once I get back to the Arnold is okay, can I finish the Arnold without tearing a bicep? Without hurting myself. Uh, but no, man, I think we're gonna go back to ground zero again, and start the lifts all over from the bottom again, and find those deficiencies, and work up from there. So uh, I still plan on going backpacking this summer. I got trips planned for that. This should be ready to go by then. Uh, get back into snowboarding next winter. I lost most of my snowboarding this year. One, training for the Arnold, and then two, the bicep tear. Took me out for the second half of the season
Get
of
back to getting
snowboarding.
schooled by 13-year-olds in snowboarding.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. It's got these little 6-year-old kids zooming right by me, doing all these tricks and stuff, whatever. And I'm like, hey, whatever, man. You guys pretty fortunate. You guys get to do that at that age. But yeah, that's where I am. See if I can get this captain position, and build this back better and stronger.
That's ultimately the end goal. And even for myself at this competition, the last thing that I said to everyone out there was, this was a personal PR for myself, because I did better than I did at my last competition.
There you go.
And so, yeah, I think that's an excellent note to end on. And, I wanted to say thank you for joining me on episode 1 of the Around the Table Strength talk. So
Hey,
thank
thanks
you.
for having me on here, dude. This has been fun. This has been really cool.
Thank you. Hey, man, I am very thankful. And of course, I hope to provide you a good experience. And this, I was at work today, practicing my lines. I was like, okay, okay, how am I going to go about doing the intro? How am I going to go about talking to him? Because I didn't want this to be a bomb where I didn't know where I was, what
Right.
questions to ask, what things to say. And so I was practicing and practicing and practicing. And, as you said, that's the end goal is to, so like next episode, I hope to improve. Next strongman
There
comp, I
you
hope
go.
to improve. Tomorrow, maybe, maybe I took 2,500 steps today. And this is for whoever's watching in the community. No matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, you're a student, business, you own a business, you work at the Walmart, you're a world-renowned strength athlete, you're a professional in whatever field you're in. Or maybe, you're a kid watching this, you're 13, 14. um Always aim to be better, and don't aim to be better. And yes, it's important to have those long-term goals. It's important to have those goals of, like, for me, to be like, I'm working on my business. I'm going to be a business owner. I'm working on my bachelor's degree. I'm working on being a world-renowned athlete. I like those are all my goals. And but those aren't the focus, because those are long-term goals. That's in 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, is to be a successful business owner, successful strongman, success, like, have my doctorates or whatnot. It's all about the steps you take today, tomorrow, the day after that, the day after that, next week, next month, next year. And I took this from Mitchell Hooper, because he's my coach, my mentor right now. It's your pebbles, your rocks, your stones, and your boulder. It's important to have your boulder, and it's important to have, your, oh, my apologies. I have a, oh, what's funny is that was Jenkins calling me. That was Jenkins probably asking to come work out. But you have your pebbles, your rocks, your stones, and your boulders, right?
Right.
And what that is your pebbles are things you can do right now, and you can improve on in this moment. Whether it's reading a book, taking a couple extra steps, learning something new, you know, getting moving, cleaning your bedroom. That was one thing. Like, a lot of us, like, for me, I had to learn, because I was a bit chaotic as a kid. I just kind of kick my blanket off and leave it there. Clean the bedroom, clean your house, you know, fix something. Maybe it's going and making that purchase to make yourself one step closer to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Working that extra hour, like, that's another thing, is putting that extra hour in, going to the gym. Those are your pebbles. And your pebbles are right now. Too many people focus on what they're going to do 15 years from now. Focus on what you can do right now, improve what you can do right now, and set new wins, set new goals, accomplish those goals. No matter how small, no matter how big, accomplish them one step at a time. Like how Taco said, his goal is to not tear his bicep. And for some people, that seems like nonsensical, but that's an honest thing. That's an honest PR. That's something that he achieved successfully. That's an improvement from the last time he did it. And I'm sure he's got things that every day, as he said, is education. Read a book. Let's say you read a page today, read 2 pages tomorrow, read 3 pages the next day. Hit that extra rep, get that extra hour of sleep in. That's where greatness is born, is in those small steps that you take to achieve it. And so I think that'd be an excellent note to end this on. I want to thank Taco for, coming out and being on episode 1, joining me on the show. Thank you so much. Anything you want to end on, Taco?
No, man. Like I said, thank you for having me on. This has been awesome. This has been fun. Uh, I look forward and excited to see what you do with this podcast. I'm forward. I'm excited to see what you do in your strong man. I'm just excited to see who you become as a man over the next few years, man. This will be fun to watch and see.
Thank you, Taco. And I'm excited to see you not tear your bicep, man. No, honestly, I'm excited to see how far you'll go, because I know a lot of people, they doubt the older individuals too, and I'm not saying that you're old, but I believe you're in your 40s, right?
Yeah, yeah. 41.
And I'm excited to see you push those limits. push yourself to new heights. I'm excited to see you accomplish those goals that you set out to achieve, to become captain, to win the Arnolds eventually. And I cannot be more thankful to be a part of your journey. And so, I just wanted to say thank you, brother. I'm super happy to have had you on here. I'm super happy to have been a part of your story, and I'm super happy to have had you as a part of my story. And so, yeah, I think that's excellent. And I want to thank everybody for watching today. Please, like, subscribe, comment. Um, I have plenty of contacts, so anybody you want to see on the podcast, I'll reach out to them and I'll try to get them on. Maybe we'll have Taco jump in as a third, as the second host. We'll have him come on. Um, but yeah, my name's Nathaniel Rodriguez. Of course, there's Jose Garcia, also known as the Mustache Daddy. We're gonna go ahead and check out. Thank y'all so much, and you have a wonderful day.
Appreciate you, man.